If you have the previous generation Stealth, you will need to make a couple modifications to your frame in order for the new lean bar to fit. In your hardware kit, you will receive 2 drill bits. You will also need a hammer and a center punch. Anything from a nail or a screw, or anything sharp that will leave a small indent in the metal will work as a center punch. We will need to drill 4 holes in the frame. For this install, you will need to remove the front angler seat piece from the frame and raft. First, take the lean bar base plate and lay it on the frame. When the plate is on the frame, you will want to make sure it is pushed inboard and forward as much as possible. We will start by drilling the 2 rear holes, and after that we will drill the side hole. With the base plate still in place, lean the frame piece up, and again make sure that the base plate's rear and sides are snug to the frame. To drill your frame, we will first need to mark the center of the holes to be drilled. We suggest marking, drilling, and installing the bolt for each hole one by one to ensure that all the holes line up. Take your center punch and place it as close to the center of the hole as possible. Take one good swing, and this should leave a divot in the metal frame. Remove the lean bar base plate and start with the smaller of the 2 drill bits. The purpose of the center punch is to make it so the fine point of the drill bit sits in the divot made by the punch, and will allow you to drill exactly where you punch the metal, and helps you to not slide off the sides of the tubes when drilling. This first hole is placed really close to the frame edge, so it's nearly impossible to drill it perfectly straight. Don't worry, if you go slow and take your time with each hole, the bolts will still fit perfectly. Make sure you drill as close to straight as the frame will allow, and drill all the way through the frame. Once your pilot hole is drilled, swap the bits to the larger bit and re-drill the hole. Now we will place the base plate back on the frame and install the bolt in the hole we just drilled. Just install the bolt and leave the nut off because we will be removing it again. We will repeat the process for each of the remaining 3 holes. First, making sure the base plate is properly aligned, center punching the hole, removing the base plate, drilling the pilot hole, and then drilling the full-size hole. Reinstall the base plate, insert the bolts, and move on to the side hole. Rinse and repeat. With the 3 other bolts installed, we will drill the front hole. Now that all 4 holes have been drilled, we will install the base plate using all 4 bolts. In the hardware kit for your lean bar, you should have 2 2 3/4 inch bolts, 6 2-inch bolts, 2 2 1/4 bolts, 3 1-inch bolts, 8 washers, 13 nuts. You will also receive a couple drill bits, a locking pin, a pin leash, and a lift stop. We will also need a 7/16 wrench and a socket. A drill makes it a lot easier if you have one. The parts of the lean bar are the tower, the base plate, bar channel, and the lean bar itself. Step 1 is to install the bar channel on the lean bar. Line up the holes of the channel with the holes on the lean bar. You will use 2 of the 2-inch bolts and 2 of the 2 1/4-inch bolts, as well as 4 nuts. No washers are used for these. The 2-inch bolts go in the vertical holes, and the 2 1/4-inch bolts go in the horizontal holes. You will want the vertical bolt heads on the top of the channel, and the horizontal bolt heads will need to face outwards. Install all 4 bolts first, and then tighten them fully. Now we will mount the tower to the base plate. Line the tower up on the base plate with the Flycraft logo facing out. You will use the 3 shortest bolts and 3 nuts to secure the tower to the base plate. When installing the tower, place all 3 bolts in their location and install the nuts loosely. There will be a small amount of float in the hardware, and you will want to make sure that the tower is completely flush with the base plate on the left side. With the tower in place, you can now tighten the 3 bolts. Next, we will install the base plate to the raft frame. You will want to remove the front angler seat piece from the frame to make access to the bolts easier. Align the base plate on the frame, and using 4 of the 2-inch length bolts, 8 washers, and 4 nuts, we will mount the base plate to the frame. You will put a washer on both the head of the bolt as well as on the nut side. Install all 4 bolts and leave them loose. Once all 4 bolts are installed, we will start by tightening the side bolt first. Then we will tighten the 2 rear bolts, and finally tighten the forward bolt last. This helps to ensure a proper fit.
But before you do that, make sure the back is touching the frame. Tighten. And this is the last. And you'll see it when you tighten it. You'll see it kind of come down a little bit, and that's what you want.
Next, we will use the 2 3/4 inch bolts and 2 nuts to mount the lean bar to the tower. Place the rod and channel into the tower and line up the bolt holes. Install the rear pivot bolt first, but do not tighten. Before installing the second bolt, we will install the locking pin. Raise the lean bar into position, depress the button on the locking pin, and insert the pin. With the lean bar in position, we will now install the lift-stop spacer. When tightening the spacer into place, put a little bit of force on the stopper so that it pushes down on the lean bar channel. This sets the lift stop so that it is perfectly in line with the locking pin when the lean bar is raised. Tighten both the lift stop bolt and the lower pivot bolt. Take the leash and attach one end to the locking pin and one end to the tower. Reinstall the angler seat piece to the frame. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our customer service team at cs@flycraftusa.com.